Just put on the dress, because we're late already.
What my lamb going to wear?
There.
No, you ain't. You can't show your bosom for 3 o'clock. I'm going to speak to your mom about you.
If you say one word, Mother, I won't eat a bite.
Well. Keep your shawl off your shoulder. I ain't even think to get off regular after the buttermilk I done put on your holy spirit. Reaching in my circles. Oh, now, Miss Scarlett, you come on and be good and eat just a little.
No.
Honey.
I'm going to have a good time today. And do my eating at the barbecue.
If you don't care what folks says about this family, I do. I has told you that you can always tell a lady but the way that she eat in front of folks like a bird. And I ain't aiming for you to go to Mr. John Wilkins's and eat like a field hand and gobble like a hog.
Fiddle-dee-dee. Ashley Wilkes told me he likes to see a girl with a healthy appetite.
What gentleman says and what they thinks is 2 different things. And I ain't noticed Mr. Ashley asking for to marry you.
The Mammy Archetype is a stereotypical depiction of Black women in American culture, particularly those who worked as nanny or caregivers in white households. This image is rooted in the antebellum South and has been perpetuated throughout literature, media, and pop culture, often depicted as devoted, happy, nurturing, maternal, religious, long-suffering, rarely interested in her own well-being, and overly preoccupied with the needs of others. Hey y'all, hey, it's your girl Twilight. Welcome to the evolution of Mammy, where I'm going to take you down the road of how Mammy Archetype became a staple in the consciousness in the Black community. One of the things that I want you guys to keep in mind is there was no psychological debriefing after antiquity. People captive in slavery were set free. There wasn't a psychologist or a group of psychologists on deck to help them to decolonize their mind and reprogram themselves from intense trauma, pain, scarcity, and many other dangerous, unhealthy, toxic tropes that we have carried generationally and rarely fully examined, especially when one group stands to benefit from this adverse programming. So without having had that debriefing, there are a lot of mentalities and things that we still appropriate today as a community, and we don't even realize it. If you cannot examine the psychologically depraved mentalities that we have ingested as a people over centuries due to being captives, then you are going to continue to pass that down to your successors.
The programming.
Historian Deborah Gray White explains that the Mammy Archetype was part of a Southern myth portraying slavery as benevolent. This image was created to justify slavery by depicting enslaved women as happy and devoted to their enslavers and families. This portrayal was intentionally used as a tool of propaganda to lighten the abysmal context surrounding slavery, as if to say, see, something good came out of slavery after all.
Scoot up the attic, Mammy. Get down more of those box of dress patterns.
What you up to with Miss Ellen's portiere?
You're going to make me a new dress.
Not with Miss Ellen's portiere. Not while I got breath in my body.
Great balls of fire. My portiere now. I'm going to land for that $300 and I've got to go looking like a queen.
Who's going to land with you?
Going along.
That's what you think. I was going to land with you in that new dress.
Now, Mammy darling.
No use to try to sweet talk me, Miss Scarlett. I know you ever since I put the first pair of diapers on you. I said I was going to land with you and going I is.
Going I is. She determined, ain't she? Well, anyway, so Deborah Gray, author of Aren't I a Woman, in her excerpt says in the 19th century, when the nation was preoccupied with keeping women in the home and protecting them, only slave women were so totally unprotected by men or by the law. only black women had their womanhood so totally denied. While introducing the two stereotype characteristics, much of which we see today, the sexualized, unrestrained Jezebel or the loyal servant Mammy. So obviously we can only be one of two things, a Jezebel or a long-suffering mule. And that seems to be the general consensus today amongst the opposite gender. Jezebel, by symbolizing the supposed promiscuous behavior of the black female, became a justification for sexual abuse that female slaves suffered at the hands of both white and black males. But don't nobody want to talk about them breeding farms, though. They don't want to talk about them breeding farms, though. What y'all know about them breeding farms? Remember I said before, we were never debriefed, reprogrammed after slavery. Slavery was a war. It was an absolute war. So we never got the proper mental and emotional help. And I would argue that it got worse with Jim Crow. And golly, 12 kids? This is why we have to do the deep inner work to identify these dangerous tropes so we don't get swallowed up in these very toxic ways of thinking and behaving. In Ain't I a Woman, Black Woman and Feminism, Bell Hooks examines how the mammy stereotype reflects broader societal efforts to control black women's body and labor, emphasis on labor, perpetuating a narrative that devalues our humanity. These or have any real personal autonomy. I want to take you down a timeline of pop culture references at every turn in every decade, how we were being programmed with the mammy thought process and why it is so much a part of our culture today. Let's go. Let's start with 1852, Uncle Tom's Cabin. 1888, Aunt Jemima.
Smiling, happy Aunt Jemima, famous for her secret recipe pancakes, waffles, and buckwheat. What's your happy thoughts for today?
Well, Mr. Knight, folks says you can't buy happiness, but you can earn it.
Yes, Aunt Jemima, and I guess we all want to be happy.
Other folks.
And now, Aunt Jemima, one of your old plantation sayings, if you will.
It's a pleasure, folks, to remind you all that the Lord meant for the sky to be blue. But if the day is blue, it's probably our fault.
True, Aunt Jemima, true.
1939, Hattie McDaniel and Gone with the Wind. 1950, Sapphire Stevens on Amos and Andy.
I don't know. It's a letter from the Thompson Employment Agency. What would they be writing to me about?
Well, I ain't got the slightest idea.
Application for work study. George, they're writing to me. They offered me a job.
Well, you don't mean to tell me.
I don't remember making no application there. Tain't a bad job, though. They work $8 a day. I can manage it. After all, there ain't nothing much to do around here. George, I'm gonna take this job.
Good. You have my permission.
But on this job, I'm gonna use my maiden name.
Your maiden name?
Yeah, and I ain't gonna tell you where I'm working. This time, I ain't gonna have you hanging around spoiling this job for me.
Now, wait a minute, gal.
And another thing, you ain't gonna get one red cent of what I make. This time, while I'm and you can ship for yourself.
But honey, we need the money. We got bills.
George, what kind of man is you? Do you expect me to support you?
Well, honey, that is, you see,
Damn, shaking my head. So even in 1950, these traditional women were being met with 50-50 men who was trying to get them to work outside of the home. Booyah! 1959, An Imitation of Life, Annie Johnson. 1970, Good Times, Florida Evans. 1981, Give Me a Break. 1985, Color Purple. 1997, Soul Food with Big Mama. And then in 2011, we get to see a happy black domestic servant woman who is just so full of joy to serve the needs of others. Basically, anything that Tyler Perry makes is going to have a Mammy featured in it somehow, some way. The only time we've seen a beautiful, intelligent, outspoken, talented black woman actually be able to get the entirety of life, meaning the husband, the kids, and being loved, was in the example of The Cosby Show. But pop culture has not been very lenient in making the black woman's development and growth something that is embraced by modern society. In fact, I would argue that they have fused together the modern woman and Mammy at the same time. And the biggest representation for that is none other than the character played by Tracee Ellis Ross, Joan Carol Clayton. Like the character played by Felicia Rashad, Joan Carol Clayton, played by Tracee Ellis Ross, was successful, beautiful, smart, talented, but there was one caveat. Joan couldn't get or keep a man. She was mired with low self-esteem and low self-worth. She was always chasing love, and she was a fairly decent human being from her portrayal of her character on the show. But for nothing in the world, all the men thought she was too high-strung, she was too much, and she was just not worth their time. The messaging here is that you can have yourself an illustrious career, but it's going to come at the expense of your family. But you notice that they were not putting that out in popular media till after The Cosby Show had ended. It was almost as if prior to The Cosby Show, there was the tropes and all of the stereotypes, and then right afterwards, it was all the tropes and stereotypes to return, but with a modern twist. The character Joan did not escape Mammyville. If she was not taking care of her narcissistic friend's self-esteem, she was taking care of her squatter friend who couldn't find herself, or her other friend who was using her for a come-up, and a marriage counselor. So it was almost as if she was dual certified in being a modern woman with a career and also being a caretaker at the expense of her own happiness. There was even an episode where she had to go to therapy to learn boundaries. Now listen, y'all, I ain't gonna cap to you. I love me some girlfriends, but I have to tell you that I did notice that Joan was the Mammy of the pack. She kept them all together at the expense of herself. So now the women are not necessarily having families. They're having friends and people and randos come and consume their energy and their labor, their emotional labor. More work for less satisfaction? I don't think so. But they tried it though. It was real cute. So you guys, you want to stay tuned for the next installment where we're going to talk about these mammy gatekeepers and enablers, hence the ladies on the thumbnail. So you make sure that you comment, share, subscribe, and turn on that bell notification. Peace.